suppressed memory or repressed memory. What is the right legal terminology for it?
Oh, my God. Is that what he's going to talk about? Suppressed memory. So the clock starts when they remember the assault, because I can tell you, I hope that's not it, because Jeannie has been talking about this apparently for years. For years. So go ahead. Please don't let that be it. I will scream.
Repressed memory. So kind of do a high, if you remember. So Mary's case and Jeannie's case is at the DA's office. It's being reviewed for charges against DW. There are a total of 7 victims. 3 of them are solid. The other 4 are good, but they're not as strong. But they are survivors and they are victims. And you can, kind of explain what I mean by that from a legal position. But
yeah, so we covered this in probably.
Okay, and this show is October 23rd. It is now December 15th. Keep going.
A lot of detail, but high level view is, so there's statute of limitations, and the statute of limitations has run. There are some exceptions for it. The law has since changed, but because of our rule against imposing ex post facto laws, meaning you can't create a law today to make something that you did yesterday criminal, you can't change the statute of limitations and make it retroactive, right? So if the statute of limitations under the old law has run, which it has in that case, you can't change the law to make it different. Now, there are exceptions for minors, and there are exceptions for if you didn't discover the evidence, if you didn't know about it, but that was not the case here. So they were aware of the crimes way back when.
But that didn't stop Shitface here trying to interject repressed memory into it. Supposed to go along, Billy.
Fortunately, it wasn't reported back then. It wasn't investigated back then. Sometimes if the person goes into hiding, that tolls the statute of limitations. There are some exceptions, but when we looked into it, none of the exceptions applied in this case.
Isn't that funny? The state attorney didn't know that. Those 10 attorneys sitting in the room with Mary, none of them knew this. We're just now finding out that they didn't apply after you saying, I don't know how many times, to Doug and Josh and Linda and Tricia, oh, the statute of limitations, it changed. Now it applies. Right? Dumbass.
Except for the repressed memory aspect of it. And she had reported it, but it never got chased out. So that's kind of the loophole.
Oh, except one. Which one was that? One that we don't know about? Or do we have a mystery person? What does it have to do with Summer Wells? All of a sudden there's a repressed memory of some woman or girl or whatever that we don't know about. Who, okay, usually they go to and the repressed memory thing is long ago, like blown out of the water, because so many people were accusing their fathers, stepfathers, grandfathers, uncles of sexually assaulting them because of a repressed memory some psychologist drug out of them. So there's a woman who went to a psychiatrist or a psychologist, was the psychiatrist or psychologist on the Cold Case Foundation? Somebody you provided, Chris? Because this is making my blood boil. I'm gonna try to get through this. So.
Okay, then that's possible. I mean, again, I would defer to the prosecutor. It seems to have a good handle on the law and the facts in that case. If they feel like there's something to go after, I think that they will.
There were 10 attorneys, 7 women. All solid cases, right, Chris? But now you're pulling out a repressed. The statute of limitations has expired. Yet you still sit here with your 7 victims, even now. The repressed memory, oh my God, I can't. I'm going to try because I have subs, but here we go.
Good. That's part of the problem in the cases that we all deal with, is that some of these stories don't have an end, right? And that's not, as human beings, we need an end, right? It's like watching the old Rocky boxing movies, but never knowing how the fight turned out, right? We're never comfortable with that. We need to know.
But Chris knew how it was going to turn out. He was going to prison for the rest of his life. Now he doesn't even have one possible, except for some repressed memory that some person has. But Jeannie and Mary, who he's been parading around, they have nothing. They've had nothing, because this isn't news. The prosecutor, the county attorney, the police officer sitting at the desk when they went in to make the report would know about the statute of limitations. And you're just now bringing this out because Don got out of jail either shortly before or shortly after this interview with your pal, Billy. Unbelievable.
We need to have a conclusion. And sometimes we don't. And that's one of the frustrating things about these cases. Sometimes there's no prosecution.
The conclusion is Mary has a cooking show. I'm not sure how well that's doing now, if he ever got a hamburger named after him. And I don't know what's going on with Jeannie. I really don't. But they both knew. They've known for a year the statute of limitations had run out. Mary has been on. I've seen her on Doug's show at least 5 times saying, oh, yeah, because the statute of limitations hasn't run out. You know, the prosecutor's on it. We should hear something next week. That's been going on for a year. You absolute piece of shit.
Oh, and just to shift gears again, this is a really good point, especially in today's environment.
Yeah, okay.
Use that picture
Change
again.
the subject. I apologize for. This is raw, okay? I hadn't heard this before. I heard about this. But hearing this repressed memory bullshit, this will be the last time probably you'll ever hear Chris talk about Don Wells and what happened with Mary and Jeannie. Unless he does it over on Rumble and, you know, God knows what he's doing over there. Sorry, there was another question. Can Don's sister still get justice after all this time?
After that, all this time, yes. What are some other options from the victims of
Suing him?
individuals like this?
Civil?
For Jeannie and Mary?
I don't know. Sometimes you don't get justice. I don't
Can
know.
they go civil if they had to?
Civil actions have to be filed more quickly than the criminal ones do.
Okay.
You're going to fall. I mean, a lot of times you've got a 6 month to 2 year window when you have to file it.
Billy, you're not going along with the program. I mean, you can lie. It's okay. It's Chris's show. Look at him. He's sweating now. Damn it. Billy, I thought you'd go along with me on that one.
Oh, thanks, Cynthia. I always feel bad when people tell me thanks for a military service because I feel like I got more out of it than I gave. So I feel a little guilty.
And, okay, so I've had you an hour and a half. That's where I want to always run.
So we're going to do a stuffed burger for you, Chris. So I put up a poll. Yeah, a stuffed burger. So I put up a poll to see if anybody had any good names that we could name.
Hey, I have one. Stuffed jackass. How's that?
And the best one that everybody came up with was the stuffed McFluff burger.
The stuffed McFluff?
Yeah.
The stuffed McFluff burger from Miss Mary.
Just for those who don't know, when Chris lost his channel because he accused some random Twitter account named Nomadic Trek of being Brian Laundrie in the heat of the manhunt in Florida and all over, Chris lost his channel because thousands of people went after this anonymous Twitter account. And he got death threats. He got packages in the mail. I mean, it blew up his Twitter account. And he was just a guy, a former law enforcement, which Chris didn't know at the time. And he kept saying, you got the wrong guy. I don't know what you're doing. This is crazy. And then Chris doubled down and said, I have confirmation. Nomadic Trek is Brian Laundrie. Again, this is while there was a manhunt all over the United States and probably elsewhere for the murderer, they didn't say he was a murderer yet, but we all pretty much knew he had killed Gabby Petito. While they were in hot pursuit of Brian Laundrie, he's tweeting on Twitter. And Mr. McDonough, I'm going to try not to call names, doubles down, triple down actually, and said, that account is Brian Laundrie. And not only did he, his cohorts at the Cold Case Foundation also were on a panel with him analyzing that Twitter account as a murderer of the murderer of Gabby Petito. So,
beyond that you have been doing so many amazing things.
Yeah, like getting you views, clicks and views and subs and money, lots of money.
Or little Summer behind the scenes, not only going out on your own, searching for her in areas that you thought she may have been in with your husband.
No, what they did is she and her husband, thinking it was any of their fucking business, went up to where Candace and Don had left a memorial or some kind of tribute. I don't want to say memorial. Y'all call it a memorial. Maybe he did. I don't know. I'm going to start lying now. It was a cross or a rock or something for Summer. Her name, and you can't figure out why would they go up there in Utah and place this tribute or memory. Maybe because her name is Summer Moon Utah Wells. Summer Moon Utah. I'm going to guess there was some kind of romantic reason they named her that. And it was, okay, the theory by the brains here on the right, top right, that they carried her ashes after, who was it? One of the neighbors, somebody had worked in a funeral home, so he cremated, was it Treadhill? I don't remember who, had cremated her, put her ashes in an envelope, mailed it to the Wells, then the Wells with Timothy oh God, you know, you get old, your brain goes. They took the envelope with her ashes with them to the Dr. Phil show, then to Utah to stop off to see his dad, and then up to the crevice of some side of the mountain or something. Is it Provo? I don't remember where, in Utah, where she went. And they laid a tribute. That's her theory. That was her theory. She does it on somebody's show. If you press me, I'll go find it. But, so, that's where she went to search for Summer. So when they say she searched, neither her nor Jeannie have ever been to Dawn and Candace's house in Utah. Neither one of them have ever been there. They've never been there to help search, nor has Assface.
Hey.
Top left.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think we can reveal, tonight that the Cold Case Foundation helped you behind the scenes by
Which
going
is another lie. It's another lie. The Cold Case Foundation did not send dogs. What kind of dogs did you send? Cadaver dogs? Did they have a scent? Summer scent? Were they scent dogs? Where's the video? Liar? God.
with some dogs.
Bullshit.
In certain areas that you thought were relevant.
Because she saw her ashes.
And all that was
would a
done.
scent dog hit on ashes? I don't know. I'm 100% honest. I have no idea whether they would hit on bones completely sterilized. Maybe the DNA would still be there, I'm sure. But would they hit on ashes? Or do you think they took her body somehow up there? Mary, y'all are just dumb as fuck. Dumb as fuck. And I'm not even that smart.
4 months ago?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, about
okay, when was
4 or
this
5 months ago,
July.
yeah.
Okay, so this was
this is the power of,
so this was a year after Summer went missing. So she either thinks they took the ashes, which was her theory, and he sends dogs, which I don't understand why you wouldn't send scent dogs unless you had something with her scent on it, which I seriously doubt you have. Or you sent cadaver dogs to either hunt for a Summer that almost a year prior, they put in a suitcase and hid from 8 agencies, law enforcement agencies. Why would you send dogs? Chris, you didn't. You're a liar. And she goes along with you.
Resources to bring to the table to help in a good way. And we were able to meet you out there, not me personally, but a couple of the team members.
Right.
And they were able to do some things there. That said, let's give the audience a little update in relationship to how things are going with you, and how your case is progressing. I don't want to get ahead of anything. So, what's your feeling? What's an update?
He lets Mary tell the story. Chris never tells the story of what's going on with the case. He tries, but it's always right, Mary.
Yeah. First off, I'm doing good, and still pushing in there, going for it. On our case, we're
Right.
What's it been? It's probably been a month or maybe a little more than that since they took everything, turned everything over to the DA or whatever, the county attorney's office.
You think that'd be something you know. And it might be a month since you've turned it over, but you've been saying you've done it for a year at this point.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
But I just talked to them because our detective, I talked to him about 2 weeks ago, and he's like, I'm going to be gone for like almost a month. So if you want,
this is just a theory, but I think that this detective that kind of is at her beck and call is someone that works for the Cold Case Foundation. And I bet his name is Billy Little. That's what I'm betting. Maybe we'll find out someday.
call the DA's office and check. And so I did that the other day, and she said...
Her investigator... Her investigator... I'm sorry. Her investigator told her to call the DA's office and check what? Because he's the investigator. And his investigation is complete when it goes to the DA's office. So,
actually, 3 cases is what they did. I guess, at first we thought they were all together, but I guess they're splitting them up. So there's 3 cases right now. And so she said that it's still active and to call her back in like a week or 2. And she should have more.
And they also gave you, some victim advocate numbers, correct?
Okay. So it's been a year that Mary's been saying she's reporting this, Jeannie's reporting it, everybody's reporting it. Then other people came along that you said had reported it. But 1 year later, because this was done July 17th, they're just giving you numbers for a victim's advocate, Mary? You look puzzled.
Some folks reach out?
Yeah, no, not yet. She said that they're going to be getting in touch with all 3 of us.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay,
all 3 of you, meaning you, Jeannie, and who else? Because Trish wasn't any part of this, was she? I know y'all kept saying that, but she's not. So who's the 3rd person?
That's what they do, right?
Yes, that is a solid sign. And what we don't want to do is obviously...
Solid sign of what, Chris? A solid sign that they reported, Dawn, from a year ago, they're just getting victims advocate. This is blatant lying that people in this chat, oh, you're so brave, just the fact, thank you. Love and Light, Tragus, Leopard, howdy from Chattanooga. This is my happy place. I hide in my house away from my husband and toddler to watch the show. You sound mentally stable. Or I sleep with a phone next to my ear and play these videos. It gives me great joy. Are you serious? Justice for all. It's kind of peaceful, isn't it? It's like calm and drama-free here. What? Where's justice for all? Let's see. Mimi J2, you need to be prosecuted. Karen McDonough, thanks for being here tonight, everyone. A huge thank you to our amazing mods. Yes, they go along with all your bullshit. I don't know what Justice said. Anyway, go ahead.
Get into details about the cases because we don't want to jeopardize anything.
Oh, here's Justice for all. Wonderful news, Mary. She's lived with a tragedy for almost 40 years, and now she's a hero for injecting herself into the case of a missing 5-year-old precious little girl. It's all about Mary, and Mary's such a hero. When did you look for her, Mary? When did you look for her? Chris? Never. Not once. The hero is the one that finds Summer.
The good news is...
And where's Dawn's victims advocate? Where are Candace and the boys? You destroyed what was left of their family. I'm not saying Dawn and Candace didn't, but you were a hope for them. And you shit all over them on your show. From the minute you stepped into their house and said you were going to help them. This is what you've been doing since July 2021.
You and Jeannie and Trish were the catalyst that brought this forward.
Yeah.
And,
Trish
has it sunk in yet, the power that...
the power you had to make him all this money. He gained all these subs, all these views, because when Chris talks about any other case, his ratings nosedive. Every time. Unless he's talking about this salacious bullshit, he gets no views. So congratulations, Mary.
You brought...
The statute of limitations has passed, and either she or Jeannie said it in the beginning, and everybody just ignored it. That was it. There were no more. There's no next week. The prosecutor, and she's been saying this for a year. Oh, next week we're getting close. Shithead here. Next week we're getting close. The prosecutor's taking it. The detectives say we're close. Then you had to add other people to keep it going. And you've been lying. You've all been lying. Why? Because it makes you money. It's not about Summer. That should have been dropped. Okay, well, we can't do anything with this. What does it have to do with Summer? Nothing. Because there's no evidence in Summer Wells' case. There's nothing you can run with. There's no villain, as Chasing Truth says. God.
It doesn't matter. It still happened.
Yeah, we know that.
And
too.
I just, on my show the other day, talked about a 40-year-old cold case that a man was just arrested for in his 70s.
Okay.
For terrible things that he had done.
Well, Don's not going to get arrested for this. We've known this. Every time this asshole says Don's going to go to prison, going to go to prison for life. Don't look forward to Don getting out. He knows he was lying. And now you're lying. I hate all of you. Mary, I know you've probably led a very sheltered life, probably not a very, you're not out in the public. Jeannie's daughter, Trish, she quite likes the limelight and then found out it wasn't all that fun when you get caught lying. But Chris has helped you kind of keep your reputation, keep it going. But we know, and I'm so glad, Billy Little, who I can't stand, I think he's scum also, he at least said it to Chris, who has known all along, this isn't new, that the statute of limitations had run out for your particular case. All the elements of it. Now he's going for the repressed memories of some unknown person, whatever. I'm not going to listen to Josh much.
A few different victims. And, a lot of that comes along, people want to be so critical of everything. And unless you're in that...
People being critical of the father and mother of a missing child being accused of being child traffickers. People are so picky, right? Josh, Mary, asshole.
Person's shoes, you have no room to criticize how anybody else handles what has happened to them.
Right. 100.
As a small child, and I'm just going to use Jeannie, if that's okay with you, Mary. Okay. Yeah. Not details, but from the ages of 5 to 12, for over 7 years. And that child was 5 when it started.
Even though Mary said
you've got some real problems ahead of you, and this is what the DA is picking up, and it was because
just flat out fucking lying. He is just lying. But what he'll say is, well, that's what Mary told me. Right, Mary?
Of Mary, and it was because of Jeannie and because of Trish bringing it forward. That it links into Summer Moon, Utah, because the world not only loves her, Janet says here, and we agree.
I honestly just got physically ill. Keep her name out of your mouth. You smarmy bastard.
Yeah, I agree. Imagine peace. Age should not be a factor, but unfortunately it is.
Well,
okay, it is.
And it's all a factor, and you know it. Unless you're you're just not.
And I totally agree with 100% on that. So, what else is on your mind, Miss Jeannie?
It's Mary.
Mary.
Oh, Miss Mary, right?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was looking at the name. I was looking at the name over there. Forgive me.
Right.
We got Jeannie. We got Jeannie on the mind as well.
Yes. She's always on my mind. Yeah, I just love her.
Yes.
But yeah, you put it right out there. I was gonna answer that question, but you've done it perfect for me. So loves it too. We love all the support. Hopefully in a couple of weeks we'll have an update for everybody on how our case is going. So, but it's still active. They're still going through it. You got to figure a lot of people are going, well, what's taken so long? They have to go back 40 plus years. They've got to go through pages and pages and pages of stuff that they've got to, type up and go through. Mm-hmm. And not only that, we have 10 lawyers.
Did you hear that? They have 10 lawyers. 10 lawyers.
On our side. So I think we have I don't know when I talk to
tell them that part of the story. Yeah, that's a great one. Mm-hmm. Tell them that part of the
our detective was taking the stuff into the DA.
Again.
He said he walked into the room and he said there's usually only like maybe 1 or 2 lawyers in there. He said there was 10 sitting there.
And she's getting her information from an investigator who's telling her that he walked into a room and there were 10 lawyers for 3 people, 7 people, I don't know, 3 stacked cases, 3 separate cases, who knows? Hard to tell. But this detective is telling her this. This isn't something she witnessed. So he's taking the case to the county attorney, not district attorney, and he's telling her what happened. It sounds to me like a made-up story to appease someone and to keep them hanging on. And it sounds like a cold case detective. I'm sorry. I don't think this is a Roy City detective. I just don't. And I don't know that they could drum up 10 attorneys in Roy City, Utah. I mean, it's tiny. But move on.
The room just for us.
Okay.
And so he said, Mary, I've never seen anything like that before. He said, I was stunned.
Right. Wow.
So, but it's a very high profile case. So, that just makes me happy.
Why? Okay, I have a question. Okay, first of all, what is the high profile case? Which is the high profile case? Mary and Jeannie's case from 40 years ago in Roy, Utah, or the Summer Wells case in Tennessee? Okay. Second of all, the prosecutor doesn't represent you. The prosecutor represents the state of Utah. So why there would be 10 attorneys in that room before charges have even been filed, before the first court date has been set on this imaginary case? I'm completely lost.
Been friends for almost a year now. Mm-hmm. And in that time, you two, in my opinion, have become amazingly
valuable,
ahead of where you were and where you are even today. You have absolutely. I'm hoping you're gonna write a book.
Of course.
I'm hoping you both write a book because
you'll promote it.
You have a story of courage and survival to talk about. And for folks that are new with us,
and Mary has a cooking show. I forget the name of it, but I'm sure it's not as popular now as it was back a year ago.
Both Jeannie and Mary and Trish, Jeannie's daughter, came forward in the very beginning when Summer went missing.
Yes, and Trish thought that Dawn was 14 years older than her mother when it happened, and that she was 4 when it happened. And Trish also said that Dawn raped her and then later retracted and deleted the post, which somewhere in my other phone I have.
It's kind of taken a life of its own, and you guys have filed.
And watch how Chris will let them tell the story so that he doesn't look like the liar. He makes it look like, and I know for a fact that Chris has given Mary advice or given her the words to say on Web Sleuth when she said her theory was that Summer was being trafficked by being put in the shed. The people would come and take Summer, bring her back and leave money. And then Candace or Dawn would go and get Summer from the shed and, happy transaction. But he let her tell that story, but he fed it to her.
And your case has been progressing quite well in Utah. Is that correct?
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. You tell
Okay.
me. Okay.
And I'm very proud of you because you've both been able to stay below the radar,
Not really.
which was and still is important. We're not here tonight.
Mary's been all over the place. I can't even count how many times she's been on Doug's panel or on Doug's panel. She's been on Josh's panel. She's been with you on this show. Jeannie has stayed under the radar because I don't think Jeannie wanted to really be a part of it in the beginning. But now I think Jeannie thinks she's going to write a book. Or when was this? This was in July. Wow. A year after it all started. It's when this broadcast was done.
Just let everybody know we're not going to be here tonight to talk about Mary and Jeannie's case. That's not why we're here. Okay, so the details of all of those, unfortunately, you're going to have to wait till a court of law because we do not want to jeopardize and or compromise anything that the courts need to.
And at this point, he knows there's no case. He's known there was no case since the beginning. Look at his face right here. That is a piece of shit. And just look at his face. Sneaky bitch is what he is. Ugh.
Bring out. But we can tell you this.
What?
There were, when Jeannie and Mary came forward,
Yeah.
they were the first two. And subsequently, there were a total of approximately 7 women. But is that correct? If I remember right,
correct?
7.
Yes.
And
Okay.
some of those aren't even family members.
Right?
And we can only imagine how many others there are. And Utah has been investigating these cases.
I mean, he continues to say 7. Mary reduced it to 3 on a previous show, but he'll continue to say 7, and that Utah is investigating all of this.
And so you guys have been absolutely, in my opinion, superheroes for Little Summer.
Oh, really?
Because,
How so?
as you said early on, the two of you,
How?
you only came forward because Summer gave you the courage to come forward.
No, you gave them the
Now,
courage.
isn't that an interesting dynamic, right?
Yeah.
It's an interesting dynamic. And so hopefully there will be charges soon coming down the pipeline.
See, he says it, and he knows better. He absolutely knows better. You're a fucking evil bastard. I can't think of enough names. Y'all can help if you want. And comments, just, don't say cunt.
For Mr. DW, and what I've always said on this channel
What?
is, we had 2 trains going. We have Summer's disappearance, and then we had all of his other victims and survivors.
You don't have any victims other than Jeannie. Mary's not a victim. By her own admission, by everything that's been said, common sense tells you Mary's not a victim.
We're 5.
No.
And for you, Jeannie, it progressed for...
That is a lie, unless Mary lied about when it started. I think even Jeannie has said that it started when they moved into that house, which anybody can go and look. Go and look at the property history on that house.
We're 7 years. And so, first of all,
And it couldn't
as
have been
always,
7 years. I think I may or may not have put that video up. But it wouldn't have been 7 years because of Don going to jail. I think that was one of the reasons. And then he stayed away from about 17 on. He was in Harris County. Who's counting?
Hey,
I mean, anyone
everybody-
that cares to can research this. And I'm sure other people have. I've just not seen it or heard, because what happens is you get called an apologist for Don, which at this point, believe whatever the fuck you want. But I haven't seen anyone really push against this narrative. And now we know, and I've always said, there were limits to that statute of limitation being lifted. I mean, you just had to read it, which I'm sure people have. I'm sure people know all this, but they're afraid if they say anything, they're going to look like, oh, you're victim shaming. Well, I'm not victim shaming. It's common sense. And if you say that someone's victim shaming because they're pointing out reality, fuck you. Okay. Okay.
Show some love in the chat here.
I mean, no child should ever be subjected to sexual assault. So what happened to Jeannie was not right whatsoever. But so far, we're not clear that it would have anything whatsoever to do with Summer Wells. Don Wells' record does not indicate he's ever sexually assaulted anyone at any other time, not even a report. So, I mean, that's a long time from, 27, 37, 40, 30-something years, almost 40 years. It's kind of unusual.
Heroes, and let's encourage them to write that book.
Yeah, write the book.
After this is over.
He's promising a book.
And justice has been done.
Mm-hmm. When justice has been done, which he knows, there's no justice that will be done. He admits it in the show that I'm either going to put before or after this. There's no justice. But he's telling Jeannie, you're going to write a book once this is over. He knows it's not going to happen. Oh, my God.
What's interesting here is I got a phone call a couple of days ago. I had another program scheduled for tonight.
Oh, okay. Wait. He's going to lie. He's going to tell a big lie right now. Okay, go ahead.
And these two superheroes said, hey, we've been talking and we want to talk to you about a theory.
Okay.
Total
bullshit. I'll tell you how that went. I don't know for sure. So I'm not saying I absolutely know for sure, but knowing how he is, he called them. Hey, I've got an idea. I want to do a show on theories. So, and then it follows.
Please try to, connect some dots based on our experiences with him.
Right.
And they've been reading the letters. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure what kind of, precipitated you guys reaching back out. But at the same time, when you sent me over what your thoughts were.
Mm-hmm. The shed.
And knowing him better than, probably a lot of people, obviously.
Actually not, because he really didn't have much to do with them after he left. Then he left again, and I don't think they know him that well. I think they're a little too self-absorbed. I mean, Jeannie ended up sexually assaulting, I have to say it, her cousin, I think. Doesn't matter whether he was her cousin or not. She was like 17 and he was 13, or she was 16 and he was 13 when she got pregnant with one of her daughters. And then she got pregnant again when he was 15. Don't quote me, it's in one of my other videos. When he was 15 with Trish. She got pregnant with Trish. And she was like 18 or 19. So, she was busy having a family. And I don't know about Mary. She said they stayed close. But anyway, I digress.
If anybody.
I actually digress.
Let's lay the ground rules I want to lay the ground rules for the listening audience to make sure they understand that.
No disrespect.
Number one, some of these ideas are just that. They're ideas. They're not necessarily evidentiary fact, but based on how...
So what they go on to say, and I did a video about this too, is they think Don and Candace were selling Summer in the shed. The famous shed that piece of shit here said Don was hiding in when he drove up to film the house, acting like he was going to help Don and Candace find their daughter.
The statute of limitations has run. There are some exceptions for it. The law has since changed, but because of our rule against imposing ex post facto laws, meaning you can't create a law today to make something that you did yesterday criminal, you can't change the statute of limitations and make it retroactive, right? So if the statute of limitations under the old law has run, which it has in that case, you can't change the law to make it different. Now, there are exceptions for minors, and there are exceptions for if you didn't discover the evidence, if you didn't know about it, but that was not the case here. So they were aware of the crimes way back when. It wasn't reported back then. It wasn't investigated back then. Sometimes if the person goes into hiding, that tolls the statute of limitations. There are some exceptions, but when we looked into it, none of the exceptions applied in this case.